Welcome to Superstar Sales Presentations, The Inside Secrets. In case we haven't had the pleasure of meeting, this is Patricia Fripp. 5 years ago, I had a fun assignment for a 2-day training session, and these were with individuals who trained their client company employees how to use the product that their company had invested in. While I was there, the sales team heard, and that 3 of them, including the national sales manager, thought, hey, let's sit in on Fripp's presentation. And after the lunch break on the second day, the national sales manager stood up and to 80 people from the company said, the salespeople and I decided at lunch, we have no idea how we managed to sell anything before we met Patricia. I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, how long does it take from the initial inquiry to the point that you deliver a formal presentation? He said, a year. And I said, if you get a yes, how much is it worth to your company? $20 million. I said, well, just as a matter of interest, when you're getting ready for this formal presentation and there are going to be 15 or 20 people in the room, how long do you rehearse? Well, I imagined he would say, Patricia, we mark out a week before, and every day we go into the boardroom, we rehearse, we bring in different associates to pepper really tough questions. We rehearse how we transition from one to another. We decide who is going to field which type of questions and how do we expect to answer those that we usually receive. That's what I expected to hear. That is what I often hear from really professional clients. What he said was, I gotta be honest. If we do a run through in the back of Mary's car before we walk in, we consider we're well prepared. Again, welcome to Superstar Sales Presentations, The Inside Secrets. Of course, they're not really secrets. They are strategies and techniques and suggestions on how you can take your game to the whole next level. The point I was making with this company, and one that I hope you will incorporate, is, as Michael Caine said, rehearsal is the work, performance is the relaxation. Especially when you have a very important presentation, or if it's taken this long. And may I suggest, most of your presentations are equally important. Some might be more profitable, some might be easier. However, you need to rehearse. You need to know what is different about this company, what are their interests, and rehearse your part. If you have your PowerPoint, your dance of the 1,000 slides, you know everything about them, you're halfway done. Just get comfortable delivering it. Now, we, of course, have another very important part of this team here to serve you. His name is Paul. His official title is the Director of Client Experience for Fripp VT, which is our online, highly interactive presentation, sales presentation skills training, and the moderator of all our web training experiences. So, Paul, tell our friends how they engage with us and start with the opening poll.
All right. Hello, everyone. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will see a chat window. Within that chat window, you'll be able to ask your short, specific questions throughout the call. And just remember to get your questions in sooner rather than later, so we do have plenty of time to cover them. In addition to the chat box, you'll also be able to answer polling questions throughout the call just at the bottom of the chat box. You'll select your answer and then click vote. Each time you'll have about 60 seconds to respond. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first poll. Do you sell your own services or do you sell products for a company? We'll get that started. You'll have about a minute to respond and we'll talk about the results shortly.
Thank you, Paul. And please send your specific questions about sales presentations. This is not a session on how do you prospect. Although, as one of our earlier interviewees, Joanne Black, said, really, you need to ask for referrals from your happy, satisfied clients is the best way to get new leads. As we specifically look at the sales conversation, let's look at another case history. One of my clients said, Patricia, we have a 40-year-old company, very successful in our convention and space. And my job is to deliver the presentations to bring in business, and I'm letting my team down. And I said, well, give me a specific example. And she said, well, we were one of 4 people to be interviewed after a request for proposal. And this was a nice sized job. And the first question they asked me was, Joni, tell us about your company. I said, what did you say? She said, well, I told them about our company. And I said, Joni, this was your mistake. You answered the question they asked rather than answering the question they wanted the answer for. What they really needed to say, and they hoped you would probably pick up in your answer, was, Joni, can you tell us specifically how your company, with your experience, can help us with the specific challenge we have that we sent out the request for proposal? Within that, you could have given examples that would match them. All right, Paul, let's hear what is the result of our poll.
We have 67% that sell their own services and 33% that sell for a company.
All right, good. Well, we certainly want to serve you. The next question we need to ask, Paul, is this a short, medium, or long time sales cycle? Very few of us, perhaps if we're well known in an industry, pick up the phone and they say, we want to buy, or we want to book you, or are you available here for this project? Usually it's a little longer than that. And Paul, let's bring up the slide that represents the point in Joni's example. And that very simply, with all presentations, is that we have to make in our remarks, we have to remember that your subject needs to be of interest to your audience. In a sales presentation, in a request for proposal, it has to be specifically how our subject, which is us, which is our offering, helps them. That is why it becomes of interest, and therefore all our remarks have to be delivered from the point of view of the prospect's point of view. All right, Paul, give us the example. So we have, I see, we have, what is it? 22% are short?
We have 27% long, 27% short, and 46% have a medium sales cycle.
Good. And you notice we let you define that from your own world. We didn't put specific times. So I commend you for the patience with long time sales. That's very frustrating. All right. So one of my friends, who's a sales manager for the Fairmont Hotel, and he called me and said, Patricia, help. As you know, I'm a great salesperson one-on-one. However, I have the opportunity to present to an 8 or 10 person committee. They're a convention committee considering bringing their business to San Francisco. Now, if they come to San Francisco, they're definitely going to stay at the Fairmont Hotel. However, they're seriously considering San Diego. And I asked him, well, left to your own resources, what would you say? Because he told me he had 8 minutes. And I said, well, you're waffling around and you're wasting time. So these are the words I actually suggested he say. Remember, he had 8 minutes. And I asked him, how much is it worth to the Fairmont if you get the business? He said $500,000. So I said, remember, you have 8 minutes to make $500,000. So, and don't worry, we will send you a PDF of these notes. In the next 8 minutes, which means he is acknowledging the time that they have given him to present, you will decide the best decision you can make for your association and your members is to bring your convention to San Francisco and the Fairmont. That is what I call an emotionally connecting conversation. You are starting with an emotional opening, focusing on them because they are most concerned with what is best for our members. And the recommendation we make, we have to go back to the board of directors and the association staff. So you need to make it safe for them. Now, emotion might make us act and make a good connection. However, we have to give logical, analytical reasons of why it's good for them. So I suggested he continue this way. San Diego is a magnificent destination. Remember, you do not knock your competition. You just position your offering more positively. San Diego is a magnificent destination. That is a transition line. You should go there another year. However, the reasons you should come to San Francisco this year are, now give specifics, logical reasons, bullet, 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 bullet. Now, to tie it in a bow, rest assured the 538 associates at the Fairmont Hotel will be here to serve you. And imagine, years from now, when your convention attendees are sitting around a convention lobby, reminiscing about their favorite conventions, and they remember the one in San Francisco at the Fairmont when you were the planning committee. And yes, of course, certainly he did get the business. So at this point, Paul, let's bring up the question slide just to make sure that this is the time. Well, this is fine. Paul, are there any questions at this time?
There are indeed.
Oh, good. All right. Well, we often have to wait longer, so we're glad you're getting them early, because although we present webinars on this subject, we always want to make sure that they are different. We respond to you. All right, Paul, what's the first one?
All right, from Kim. She wants to know, should she call it diabetes prevention or weight loss? I'm assuming she's selling a product that does both.
I suggest it depends on the audience, because it could do both. So it would, well, one, the traditional wisdom is you test, and two, I would add, depending on the audience.
All right, then from Maria, what is the best approach for presenting when working with a homeowner for building contractor job?
Working with a contractor. So what is the best approach? Read that again, Paul.
What is the best approach for presenting when working with a homeowner for a building contractor job?
All right. So you were talking to the homeowner for the contracting job. All right, good. Well, one, I would start by admiring their house. Now, if their house isn't that great, you might want to congratulate them on increasing the value of their home as well as the quality of living for the family. And then you need to ask, perhaps have they ever worked with contractors before? What are they looking for? How did they make the decision? And then I like the phrase, I don't want to put my words into your mouth if they don't sound good to you, but I would say, if the world were perfect, when this project is over, specifically, what do you think it will look like? And in other words, you're getting them talking as much as possible, because if we work on the principle that our prospects will never disagree with themselves, the more we listen to them, write down what they say, and do a review. So, Paul, I hear that you're saying, in a perfect world, in 4 months, your deck will be built, you'll have a new roof, and the new plumbing in your kitchen will be done as fast as possible to not inconvenience your family. Yes. Okay. So prove that you listened, and go from there. All right. Wonderful. Hope that's helpful. And then always thank them for the opportunity to be considered as their contractor. Good. Another one?
Yes, from Beth. She said that she's always told to A, give real value in your presentation, and B, don't tell them too much unless you'll overwhelm them with info. She delivers value, but people still walk away without buying.
All right. Now, and this is in a sales, I'm assuming that this is in a sales presentation, or is it a presentation to get more business? So let's answer it both ways. The traditional wisdom, if you are a speaker, consultant, or coach, is often tell them what they can do, but they actually have to buy how you do it. That's traditional. My approach is, I would rather give value so that they can experience the quality of what I do. And perhaps later I give more of an example of how I might actually do that. Then, if you see, we're doing our own testing. So if Beth is giving too much information, and it's great information, but she's not getting whatever her next step is, I suggest that you deliver less, because you obviously are a smart person with years of experience, a depth of knowledge, that you just want to give them a taste. And now you can always say, do you have enough information to help make the decision, or would you like more? In other words, test how you're going as you go along. For example, I just finished a video for a client, which is a sample of how one of their sales demos should go. And it's a matter of, is the speed that we're delivering this fine for you? Am I making myself clear? Not, do you understand what I'm saying? Am I making myself clear? We are responsible for communicating. All right, Paul?
Yes, we have from Tina. Can you please explain the difference in the sales cycle between selling a product versus selling a service like consulting?
With a product, then of course you might have a lot of competition, and the price might be comparable, or you might have to in fact be selling why your widget is better than the other widget when they're both basically very similar. And with a lot of my clients, they might be selling technology, or they might be solar. You know, if you're working with solar power plants, these are long years of cycles. So it's a lot more complex. Selling your services is easier. And let me give you a specific example. although there might be people, now I look at me as an executive speech coach or a sales presentation skills trainer. And for example, I'll give you a case history. Just yesterday, I followed up a call that I'd had a couple of weeks ago, and I said, did we have a conversation? And he said, no, actually, you called me back and I didn't call you. Good. All right. And what he wanted was, he said, we are selling our company and we're dealing with some very high-end buyers, and I'm the one who has to do the presentation, and I know I'm not good enough. So he said, now I'm really serious with finding a coach. All right. And he talked to one other person. He was talking yesterday afternoon. He said, what's your approach? Now, and this is for anyone who is a speaker and consultant or coach. This is what I call, you sell by doing, you don't sell by telling. You sell by doing, don't sell by telling. So rather than tell people what I do, I show them what I do. This is the difference in the approach with telling them how they can do it rather than showing them. So I say, well, if we were in a room together, how prepared are you with your presentation? Let's look at your last presentation. How did you start? And he said, I started telling a story this way. I said, it was a very good approach. Now give me the words. And I said, now what you did wasn't bad. However, this is how I'd suggest you do it. So what we're doing is doing a mini session. Well, I had to go to the next appointment. So he said, well, can you send me an email of what the outline would be or how we'd work together? And then when I followed up, I said, well, if you're still looking after your conversation with the coach yesterday afternoon, this is how I would approach it. Let's set up a virtual seminar. You can send me your PowerPoint in advance. And for the first 15 minutes, I'm going to give you advice on your PowerPoint and your opening. If you like the advice, then we keep the clock on. Then I charge you. So again, I'm willing to invest time in developing a relationship and proving value before the clock goes on. With other clients, one of my biggest VT clients, I took the initiative to go in a studio and record customized content for them to go in their Fripp VT system. Just because I always want to give the impression I am maximizing your investment with me. Hope that was helpful. Another question, Paul?
Absolutely. And actually, Kim clarified a little bit. She was the one that asked the question about diabetes prevention or weight loss. The question is applicable to the speaker one sheet. She's looking for a captivating headline to get speaking engagements. The topic covers both weight loss and diabetes prevention. So she was curious to know, which one do you think is more compelling for a speaker one sheet?
Well, you could have 2 speaker one sheets. You can have 10 speaker one sheets, but I wouldn't recommend it. So what you could do is, you see, if you're speaking to individuals compared to, is your market medical? So you might have the headline with health or diabetes or successfully live with diabetes, and lose weight as a bonus. Now, again, it depends on who your audience is and test. So why don't you come up with a one sheet that heads the diabetes and the bonus is that? And another one might be, look good, be slender, lose weight, and guarantee that you won't get diabetes or that it will be in check. So I wish I could be more specific. And as far as headlines, it takes a while to come up with. And the headline is important. So do it both ways. What a one sheet has to prove is who you are, what you do, why you are perfectly positioned to do it, and what do other people you had done it for say, if that helps. All right, Paul, another question. Wow, I'm glad we got so many questions early.
Yes, we have from Shannon. Is it best to try to create a compelling event or to try to be so compelling that they can't wait to buy?
Now, again, that is, as Fripp would say, a high level of abstraction. So be an event. Say that one more time, Paul.
I think what she's asking is should she focus more on the idea of a compelling event, creating a compelling event, or in her presentation to be so compelling that they can't wait to buy and not focus so much on the buildup? I'll ask her for clarification.
Okay, ask for clarifications. But in the speaking world, in the consulting and training world, one, you can bring the people to you or you can go to the people. Now, having delivered and been part of public seminars, conferences that I organize with my partners, and for quite a few years putting on speaking schools, it is hard work to put bodies in an event, no matter how good the content is. It's much easier to create your presentation that be the caliber of your consulting or training, and then have people bring you to the audience. That is a lot easier way, unless you have a whole machine pumping out promotions for events. If you are a small business person, to market, to deliver, and to run these events, it's exhausting. All right. Other questions, Paul?
Yes, from Kim. Where can I find the best training for selling books and programs from the stage?
Craig Valentine.
All right, and I'll send the information out for that.
Okay.
All right, so from Janice, what are examples of pre-closing questions for selling speaking?
All right. Well, we have a lot of speaking to sell. Okay. Pre-question selling. Well, one, I'd say, because usually the question starts with, Patricia, what would you charge to speak at the American Payroll Association Congress next year? So we just say, well, it depends. Let's step backwards. Where's the conference? How many people are there? How many speakers do you have? Do you also have breakout sessions? And I always like to know, one of my first questions is, was I referred or am I the end of a Google search? Because if you were referred and you can find out who referred you, was it someone, then you can say, well, as you know, Pat Lynch probably told you that when I was at her convention, not only did I coach the executives for their presentations, I delivered a keynote and 5 breakout sessions, and then created an online follow-up training for all their salespeople. So what specifically would you like me to do? Very few of my clients just hire me to deliver a keynote. At least I deliver 1 or perhaps 2 breakouts as well. So one, you want to know if you're referred. Now, if I'm the end of a Google search, then it's, well, what specific criteria are you looking for? So you don't answer with what the price is. And if you can find out how many speakers, do you have, so obviously you need 4 speakers in keynotes. You're looking for 10 breakouts, of which 5 are going to be industry focused. Now you say, do you have an overall budget, or are you the one making the decision, or who helps you make this decision? How do you usually make speaker decisions? What do I need to do to help you make your decision, either realize I'm the perfect person or not? So I hope that helps. Any more, Paul?
Absolutely. We have, if the client does not have a specific time to buy, how do we get them to want to buy sooner?
Well, I don't know if you will, unless you can create urgency. However, one line and I learned this when I delivered events with Alan Weiss called The Odd Couple. And let's face it, because we are all busy when we are customers and when we're sellers. We're all busy. I don't know about you, but my entire life, I never catch up. I was staying with Tony Alexander, one of my very brilliant speaker friends who has an assessment business, and Saturday morning, he said, well, I have no emails in. I answered them all. I said, that would be a fantasy for me to actually, I have no emails left. So we live in crazy worlds. There is never a good time. And I would reinforce that. There's Miss Fripp, there's never been a good time to launch a new training program. So let's look at how is the best way to launch it. Would we start with a pilot program? Who would you're obviously so busy. Who would you like to be in charge of that project? Who can I interact with? So if I can be working with John and Mary, and then together we can come back with a plan of what is the best way to implement this. And if they it is amazing, because having been in this business for years, I had a call from a woman who booked me for a speaking engagement. And she said, 14 years ago, I was in your audience, and I thought, if ever I am going to hire a speaker, if ever I'm running a conference and need to hire a speaker, it's going to be Patricia. 14 years. Now, they weren't in my tickler file, but I have not been surprised that 2 years after a conversation that I thought was dead, they came back again. So it's a matter of, it's not our customer's job or prospect's job to remember us. It's our obligation and responsibility to not give them the opportunity to forget us. And the good news about technology is everyone is bombarded with information. That's the bad news. But the good news is it's very easy to keep in touch with people and offer something of value. You've signed up for a free webinar, which I offer to people that somehow are connected with me, whether they're in my professional association, they've been to a seminar, they've been to another webinar, they've hired me to speak at their company, they bought a product from me, they've been to one of my speaking events, they've been in a Toastmaster audience or a National Speakers Association audience. So those who are still interested in engaging, now even those who don't answer our email, at least your name is coming through, even if they delete it. That's the best I can give you. More questions, Paul?
Yes. On the next one, what is the best approach when speaking to recruiting a prospect to our company from our competitors? So basically, what's the best presentation approach to try to get someone from another company?
Well, I know what headhunters do. They talk to people in their current position, and with the quality of the questions, they make them feel more dissatisfied with the situation than they were before the headhunter called. So here's some verbiage that you might use. Mary, I know you're very happy working with the ABC company. And it's a great company. Many of our associates used to work there. What do you like most about working there? And they say, well, as you probably know, we're having this conversation and there's absolutely no pressure. It's just a get to know each other conversation, because our company is in a similar space. We're always recruiting because, as you probably know, we now, although we started more as an underdog, we now probably have the largest market share. And we're looking for seasoned professionals. Although we have a certain way of approaching how we do, we know it's better to have people who understand our industry. So that's why we're having the conversation, not to win you away, however, to let you know if the time becomes right, then we would love to have a conversation with you. So it's very soft for you to say is, personally, I came not from your company, but another company. And what I like most about mine is, and what surprised me most, and although all companies say they believe in business life balance, this is the first one who really lives it. I was in my office at 7 o'clock. My boss came in and said, I don't care how big that challenge is. I do appreciate your loyalty, but I know we are going to have a much longer, happier relationship with you if you now go home to children. So you can give examples. So I hope that's helpful. But again, a new employee that's happy working somewhere else, or maybe not so happy, it's a matter, it's an ongoing process. It's not you have lunch or you have a conversation, they said, no, we're not interested. You just keep in touch. Paul?
And those are all the questions we have for now.
All right, good. Well, let's see. How about, let's go back. Now, this works if you're selling your services. It works for our corporate clients. And of course, a lot of my training programs is with corporate clients. And the biggest mistake that I find my corporate clients make is that they hire young, medium, seasoned sales professionals, and they do a very good job at helping them know the products and services. They don't always articulate the difference with their products or the services, because this is the problem. Why companies bring me in is to help them take the words that they use and make it more powerful, persuasive. And the reason we want to know if you have a short-term or long-time sales cycle is because the longer the sales cycle, the more people are discussing your presentation. So you need to speak to be remembered and repeated. This is a general approach that we're going to show you. So this is a format that you can adapt. I teach my clients to do this, and I use my version of it. So Paul, can we bring up the next slide, which has a picture of my friend Darren LaCroix, who you might know. We've delivered coaching camps, and we just had our Lady and the Champs conference, which was our 9th. Darren years ago came to me and said, Patricia, would you be interested in being part of a seminar called Lady and the Chaps? Of course, Darren, Ed, Mark Brown, Craig Valentine are world champions of public speaking. And this is why a title is so good. And I loved Lady and the Champs, and so the rest is history. So let's go. And again, we've given you the script all at once, and we will send this to you. And if you've been to any of our coaching camps, perhaps you've even got this in one of your workbooks somewhere. Remember the principle: people are more interested in themselves than you. And this is the assumption after the first conversation. Now you are coming back. Now, depending on your business, and perhaps you can, after answering questions, you can actually go into this format. But this is designed more for a company that this is gone through several steps before they deliver the presentation. But start with congratulations. Now, part of my philosophy is if you sound the same as everyone else, you have no advantage. And I know there are other speech coaches, there are other sales trainers, there are other keynote speakers. I always want my clients to come up with the idea that they're not comparing apples with apples. They're comparing apples with orange. I'm the bright orange. So congratulations. What are they proud of? Now, it could be if it's an individual, and this is quite sincere. Well, let me tell you about that after. Paul, keep me honest. Let me tell them the story about Brian. So one. So congratulations. What are they proud of? Did they just have a great marketing campaign? It might be congratulations on being smart enough to realize that you need sales presentation skills training. You do a great job with your product knowledge information, but as you heard the last time you asked your salespeople to present to senior management, they do need help with this scripting. Now you have a challenge. You used to have 3 major competitors, now you have 10. Or you have an amazing opportunity. You have a new product that you haven't yet brought to marketplace, or it could be you have an awesome responsibility. Your board of directors has challenged you to lower costs by 5% and increase training by 20%. Or you have an important decision to make. Do you renew the contract with the training company you now have? Or do you renew the contract with the telephone system or the telephone company or the website host or the annuity programs? You have an important decision. Do you keep that or do you look for another company? Now, if you go to the next slide. Now I'd say, thank you for the opportunity to be considered your new coach, or thank you for the opportunity to present how our networking system might be, or our methodology could be what you're looking for. Now and now what you're going to do is, so you're really saying, thank you for the opportunity to be considered your new vendor. We will... And again, we appreciate being able to discuss how our solution, so this would be what is your offering, can help you become a market leader, can help you become more agile. What is their problem? Now, if this is a more formal presentation, you have had an internal champion helping you get ready. So you might say, John has been very generous with his time and information. Always make other people who helped you heroes in their bosses or their associates' eyes. Now, he mentioned your challenges are, or your key priorities are, or that you are most interested in hearing. So now, how do we make our subject of interest to them? We structure around their interest, challenges, or opportunities, depending on what the situation is. And the next slide, Paul. Now you say, this presentation is structured around, because what do most structures? This is who we are. This is what we do. This is how long we've been in business. No, you're going to let them know that as it relates to their priorities and interests. Your questions or other topics for discussion are welcome. Now, again, this is a format that you're going to adapt. And the next one is, and if there's one area I'm most famous with my client, is teaching them this. And now, you will know some people in the room, but if you haven't met anyone, or if you haven't met half of them, you're on their agenda. They know your name. If you've got a PowerPoint, your name's probably on it. In case we haven't had the pleasure of meeting, I'm Patricia Fripp. In my role as your executive speech coach, in my role as an addition to your sales training, in my role as your overall executive coach and for your conference, you have the confidence of knowing, now this is about them, this is you focused language, based on my 15, well in my case, in over 30 years experience with helping professionals, executives, and sales teams be more powerfully persuasive and serving clients of your size and complexity. The goal of this language is to make them feel comfortable. All right, and the next slide, Paul, is So then you go to them, and I want you to develop in your back pocket, you focus phrases. You can feel confidence. Perhaps you agree. How often have you have in your experience? So with that, let's come back, Paul, to me. Wonderful. And so let's do a quick review. 1, if you have a presentation that is important, rehearse. If you want your prospects or your clients now that you want to expand the relationship, be interested in what you have to say, you have to work on the principle that your subject has to be of interest to them, and nobody is more concerned about them. Everyone's more concerned about themselves than you. So focus on the you-focused language. When it comes to delivering the sales presentation or a conversation, make sure it's structured around their interests. Make sure you ask questions. You step backwards and find more information before you actually deliver the proposal. And be very clear. I would script out the opening of your presentation. Not that you're going to read it, but you're going to get it in your body. And remember, as Michael Caine says, rehearsal is the work, performance is the relaxation. And when people ask you a question, what you need to answer is the question that they should be asking. And Paul, I know you're going to remind me of that specific. I said I'm going to come back and show that as it relates to speaking. However, meanwhile, we also promised you that if you are interested in sales presentations on being more powerfully persuasive, or just being a good speaker in general, and if you would like Patricia Fripp as your own personal speech coach 24/7 in an easy, convenient, cost-effective, and really fun way, we're going to show you. Paul, if you can bring up Fripp VT. Fripp VT is my highly interactive, learn at your own pace online learning system. It's available on your phone, on your iPad, on your computer, and it's designed for busy people, which you are. And here we are. So there we are, because we work on the principle all speaking is public speaking. There is no such thing as private speaking. And so when you just sign in, now, can you show, well, up at the top of that, when you go to fripp.com, if you have not done so, Paul, show them where the free trial button is. If you are not a member of Fripp VT, sign up for your free trial. There we are. It is your first step to persuade, influence, and inspire. You just have to put your name, your email in, no credit card, and you get a free chapter on openings, on stories, and on sales. And based on the amount of your questions, we didn't get into talk about sales stories. However, you will get a chapter on that when you sign up for your free trial, even better. So now we're going to take you over to Fripp VT, and it's designed into 12 different courses, which are made up of multiple chapters. Each one of them might take, it could be anything from 5 to 8 to 10 minutes a chapter. And it's always available. As I say, we have user meetings, and this week we were just recording some new content to put in there. And whether it's opening your presentation, whether it's structuring your presentation, telling stories, finding content, improving your sales presentations, delivering webinars, or reporting your senior management without being terrified. Here we are. Okay, Paul, so let's go to the training center. And remember, you have a great example at the end to come to. So we are now, this is the trial, Paul. We need to click on the one underneath. That's it. Good. So getting started, finding your content, speech structure, which I'm very famous for, connecting to your audience. But we are going to show you the first chapters. This is on sales presentations, and this works whether you're selling products, services, or yourself. Welcome to Superstar Sales Presentations, the Inside Secrets. In this course, you will learn the secrets of making your sales presentations more compelling. This will give you a seemingly unfair advantage over your competition. If you're ready, click the Start Training button. Can you go to the first one, Paul? I really would love to see the first one. Life is a series of sales situations. Every day you sell yourself, your ideas, your value, your point of view, your product, or your service. Every sales conversation and presentation is a missed or captured opportunity. If you sound the same as everybody else, you have no advantage. This course is about effective presentations, specifically as it relates to the sales process. All right, well, Paul, good. I know you have a little technology challenge, and I'm hearing me.
Oh, there's an echo?
Yes.
All right.
God gave us young people like Paul to sort out technology.
All right, we should be good now.
Okay.
Do you want to continue with the
Well,
video?
why don't we show them the beginning of openings, because that's what they would also receive in their free trial. So you'll see the whole chapter on sales. We'll show you the one on stories. Oh, did I say openings or stories? Either one is fine.
All right, we'll go with options of openings.
Welcome to You Have Choices, Options of Openings, the Techniques. In this course, you will learn you have dozens of opening techniques to choose from, all with samples of how you can use them. If you're ready, click the Start Training button. Welcome to You Have Choices, Options of Openings, the Techniques. As you soon will come to discover, our subtitle is How to Open Your Presentation with Impact. At the beginning of a speech, presentation, seminar, client meeting, report to senior management, sales presentation, or any manner of presentation you deliver, you need to arouse interest in the subject. After all, we stand in the rain to see a movie. Would you stand in the rain to listen to your presentation? All right, good, Paul. Well, while we're at it, now why don't we show them the just beginning minute of stories, and then they'll get an overview of why you want to sign up for your free trial and hopefully join. The importance of a good story. Nobody can resist a good story well told. In this course, you will learn the techniques that will make your stories and examples memorable and repeatable. If you're ready, click the Start Training button. How often have you sat in an audience and been mesmerized by a speaker? Was it their compelling content? Were their stories scintillating? Do they have the ability to reach out and grab you in a way you thought, wow, the speaker is talking just to me? Be honest. How many life-changing, career-building, or awe-inspiring presentations have you heard? Have you ever been that speaker? All right, good, Paul. Okay, that's all. So let's come back to me. And I know we are getting close to when we promised to keep you engaged. There might be more questions, but I promised you an example. And this works very well with speaking and consulting, and in my case, executive presentations. So, for example, I met the director of communications for an executive in a major software company. It was when I was speaking at the Reagan speechwriting conference. And he introduced us. So there was Brian, the executive, there was me, and there was John, who was the director of communications. And it was a three-way call. And so what I had done is obviously checked press releases on Brian and his LinkedIn profile. I'd asked John some questions about him. And the first question from John was, Patricia, will you tell Brian how you work with executives? I ignored the question just as I was suggesting our friend in the second story, you're answering a question, but not exactly what they asked. And in this case, I didn't answer it in words. I said, congratulations, Brian. I just read that you turned around this division. How on earth did you do it? He said, well, it was a 5-step process, and we did this. And after 25 minutes, when all I did was listen, I said, that is absolutely incredible. And you delivered it in such a passionate, interesting way. I assume this content, exactly what you told me, is going to be in your presentation that you're going to be delivering at the big convention center. This is an example of selling by doing. I was finding out how good a speaker he was, how he could structure a presentation, and I had already started the process developing content that would go into his speech. And obviously won the assignment. It became, I was actually coaching, I ended up coaching 6 people, him and five people on his team, and led to multiple training sessions over multiple years. So you see, that's how you do it. You sell by doing, not by telling. And you have to be very careful that before you present your offering or the price, you step back and find out specifically what it is that you are answering the question on. Paul, do we have any other quick questions before we conclude?
Yes, I'll go ahead and go with, let's see, Sue. Any special advice for online e-commerce sales? They sell herbal supplements for prostate and menopause health from our website.
You need a well-written website, and you focused language and client examples, same as with anything else. Next one.
All right, from Blaine. In approaching a potential client, is there a rule on how assumptive to be? Oh, hold on one second. To be versus being presumptuous or obnoxious. So how assumptive can
you would never be obnoxious, although I'm sure there are times people might accuse me of being that, but no. You would never, your mother would not want you to be obnoxious. So it's a matter of, again, to be interesting, you have to be interested. And that's the best advice I can do. But be on your best behavior most of the time. Any more?
All right. And let's see, there's Tim. He's selling highly innovative and the world's first and only prepaid card with rewards, one of which is public stock in the company. He has a 5-minute video email that he sends out to people. His prospects are individuals with General Motors. However, the card requires a change about a new card, something about a new card change, a challenge that he has. The question cut off, so I'm not sure if it's a fee or if it's just something that changed.
Okay,
but
this is a tad more complex than I can possibly answer. What I might suggest that he do is send out a 1-minute, well-written video and say, if you are interested in learning more, click on this 5-minute video. It depends. If people don't know you, 5 minutes is a long time to expect them to listen. And with that, if you are not a Fripp VT member, we certainly hope that you will take a trial. Remember, this is the best way for you to easily, conveniently, and cost effectively learn. And we have one more poll to bring up, Paul, and that is to see if anyone would like a conversation with me about Fripp VT or training for themselves or for their company. So whether there's virtual or in-person training, if you're interested. And of course, you can always email me, pfripp@fripp.com. pfripp@fripp.com. And Paul, we have another seminar that we will be inviting people to. Our webinars are designed based on what people tell us that they're interested in hearing. And it's how to build a successful strategy around LinkedIn with Melanie, who is a strategist for companies who want to brand themselves, and especially with social media. She is the director of social media with Fripp VT, and a very eloquent speaker, past president of her chapter of the National Speakers Association. And that, Paul, is exactly, what is it? I'm looking here. It is on the 19th of July. So if you've attended this or signed up for the replay, then we'll send you an invite. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your great questions. And we look forward to seeing you online. And again, thank you. Remember, there are no secrets in selling yourself, and you are an expert. Record your sales conversation or presentation or a rehearsal of such, and listen and say, how would you tell that person to improve? Thank you. And thank you, Paul, as always, handling the polls, the questions, and the technology.